people are going to support him in this moment. They don't like, and all those small donor donations that, by the way, Biden can't get. Biden has to rely on the big money, right? The big corporations for his stuff. This is what's actually going to matter. This is what's actually going to affect things, ladies and gentlemen. All of these little people coming out and saying, you know what? This candidate now is for me. So again, I'm going to just share a picture with you. This is the Trump donation site, and this is actually showing that it is crashed and something went wrong. So I suspect it's just being overloaded with people saying, I'm going to try and do something. Again, we just heard from the president moments ago saying that he's going to continue to fight, that our country has gone to HELL, and he actually said it right out. In other words, we got real problems, ladies and gentlemen, when they're trying to get in the way of this election. I mean, it is. I don't know what else you call this other than election interference. I mean, why else would you wait so long? Why would you wait for the timing to be what it is? Why would you have sentencing just 4 days before the GOP convention? What is that about, if not what we believe it to be about? Am I right? Am I right? Let me see in your comments. I mean, this really does seem to be about one thing and one thing only. This is election interference. And so that's a whole other level of a crime. And this is why if he gets in there, oh my gosh, I have a feeling that some heads are going to roll. Some heads are going to roll because people are going to say, he's already said, we've had it and I'm going to make some changes. And when he makes those changes, it's not going to be good for everyone. It's not going to be good. It's not going to be good for the system, the status quo. I mean, I think he's willing to, say, hey, this is not what should actually happen to anyone. No American should suffer in this way. And he's right. He's absolutely right. I'm just looking again at some of your comments coming in. I know you're pretty passionate about this. And one of our viewers is saying, look, this should not be a surprise. And I hear you. It's still kind of a punch in the gut, isn't it? Right? Because you still kind of hope for the best for America. But I'm telling you, we gotta buckle down right now, and we gotta make sure that actually Americans, everyday Americans, stand a fighting chance in this kind of environment. I want to play you some reaction, if you can stand it, ladies and gentlemen, from the likes of Rachel Maddow. Like I said, they've got a party going on over at MSNBC. We know at this moment, according to CNN, that they are celebrating. They are actually celebrating there at Biden campaign headquarters. I guess they figure, you know what? Well, there's no other way they can win. There's really no other way they can win. And so they're celebrating, I would imagine, over at MSNBC, pretty darn excited because look what happened. Sure enough, let's see. This is Trish's technical skills being challenged in new ways. Let me see. I think I can pull this off, though. You know what? It's a big day, and we'll make it happen. I do want to share with you. Not that you want to see Rachel Maddow right now, but she's out there saying this is everything that the prosecution asked for. I mean, shouldn't that make you a little concerned in and of itself? Everything that the prosecution asked for? I mean, how could they possibly have gotten everything? They got everything. They got everything. And that is in and of itself rather frightening. It tells you what the bias really is out there, ladies and gentlemen. And again, let's see if we can go to Rachel Maddow.
We've got a verdict. Ari Melber.
We are looking at count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty. Count 3, guilty. Count 4, guilty. Count 5, guilty. Those are the first 5 counts coming out of this jury, finding Donald J. Trump guilty on the first 5 felony counts. Reading the rest as we are getting it from our court reporters.
Starting with count 6.
Count 6, guilty. Count 7, guilty. Count 8, guilty. And you'll see on the screen we're tracking ahead. Count 9, guilty. Count 10, guilty. Count 11, guilty. Count 12, guilty. Count 13, guilty. Count 14, guilty. Count 16, guilty. Count 17, guilty. Count 18, guilty. Count 19, guilty. Count 20, guilty. Count 21, guilty. Count 22, guilty. Count 23, guilty. Count 24, guilty. Count 25, guilty. Count 26, guilty. Count 27, we're seeing that on screen, guilty. Count 28, guilty. Those are the first 28 felony counts here as read by the jury. Count 29, guilty. Count 30, guilty. Count 31, guilty. Count 32, guilty. Count 33 and 34, guilty. That is Donald J. Trump, defendant in New York versus Donald Trump, found guilty on all 34 felony counts. That is the verdict here in this case.
Rachel?
Listen, it's a unanimous jury verdict, unanimous on all counts. This is a definitive and, this is an irreducible verdict. He can appeal. I'm sure he will appeal. But this is everything that the prosecution asked for from a jury that, by all accounts, took this thing very, very seriously. We counted the deliberation hours down here. The test here for us as a country is not about what happens on appeal and is not about what happens in sentencing. The test for us now as a country is whether or not this former president and his allies will have succeeded in trying to undermine the rule of law so that people reject this as a legitimate function of the rule of law in our country. They have tried to delegitimize this judge. They have tried to delegitimize this court. They have tried to delegitimize these proceedings. They've even tried to delegitimize the laws that he was charged under.
Wow.
Those efforts are the test that we now have as a country. The people involved in bringing this case have been threatened and intimidated and had everything brought to bear on against them in a way that was designed to delegitimize this process in the eyes of the American people. It is now in the hands of the American people to decide if we will accept those efforts or whether we will stand by the rule of law and recognize this as a fair proceeding.
A wise woman.
Okay, so you see, this is their new go-to move. You heard Jill Biden just saying, just the other day, right? On The View. Actually, that was yesterday. She went on with a big appearance because somehow it was critical for her to be there on that day. I think they thought they were going to get the verdict just yesterday. So she went on The View and she said it's a choice of good versus evil. Good versus evil. This is what, and then you heard Rachel there giving that kind of spin. This is what you're going to hear over and over and over and over again. And now they're going to use this. She said it doesn't matter what happens on appeal. You don't think it matters what happens on appeal? I mean, that's a clown show if you ask me. Anybody can bring anything, right? You can get any kind of indictment you want. You get a political enough system, you get 12 jurors that are pretty angry New Yorkers that want to go after Donald Trump, that hate him, that don't want him to run again. Well, that's what you're going to get. It is truly, this whole thing is bizarre. Again, the idea that you don't really have a crime, utterly bizarre.